Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to all my fellow friends. My name is Muhamad Alif bin Abdul Khani. We are from Group 2. We are here to present about the element iron.
And then who's next?
Okay. Hi everyone, my name is Muhammad Taufiq bin Ahmad. Today I'm going to talk about introduction, which is electrons of iron. Okay. For the introduction, iron. What is iron? Iron is a shiny, bright, ductile metal. Its molar mass is 55.85 grams per mole. So, under iron, there is electrodes of iron. First, the electrodes of iron is consists of alpha iron, gamma iron, and delta iron. As iron cools to temperature 912 degrees Celsius, the iron becomes to alpha iron, and the alpha iron is a BCC structure. The properties of alpha iron is very little carbon, which is less than 0.01% carbon will dissolve in ferrite at room temperature. And then alpha iron also soft, malleable, ductile, and strong. It's also a shiny and bright metal. And then the second part is gamma iron. When the temperature of iron cools from 112 degrees Celsius until 1000, the second part is gamma iron. When the iron temperature cools from 112 degrees Celsius until 1394 degrees Celsius, the iron becomes gamma iron, and its structure is FCC crystal structure. The properties for gamma iron is it can dissolve considerably more carbon, which is as much as 2.04% by mass at 1146 degrees Celsius. And then the properties of gamma iron also, it form of carbon saturation, which is exhibited in standard state. And lastly, the electrode of iron is delta iron. When the iron temperature cools from 1394 degrees Celsius until 1500 degrees Celsius, the iron becomes delta iron. The structure for delta iron is BCC crystal structure. And the properties of delta iron is it dissolves as much as 0.09% of carbon by mass at 1493 degrees Celsius. And we will continue to microstructure of iron. Example of microstructure of iron is hematite, or we can call it as iron carbide with Fe3C. The process of hematite is hematite forms directly from the melt and slow cooling in the case of white cast iron. And the structure for hematite iron is orthorhombic crystal structure. The properties of hematite contains 6.67% carbon and 93.3% iron.
Okay.
It also has hard, brittle, and thermodynamically unstable. The performance of hematite it causes an increase in hardness and a reduction in ductility and toughness in steels. And the second part is ferrite. Process for ferrite is during moderate cooling of an carbon alloy, ferrite forms by a eutectoid reaction. Eutectoid reaction as austenite cools below 727 degrees Celsius. The structure for pelat is there is a laminated structure formed of alternate layers of ferrite, which is have 88% and cementite, which is 12%. The properties of pelat is hard and strong. The performance of pelat is microstructure, occurring in steel and other cutting tools, high strength wires, knife, scissors, and nails.
My name is Chua Ming. I'm going to talk about another alloy of iron called the cast iron. Okay. The cast iron process, you remelt the iron peak and then you remelt it with other impurities such as steel, iron, and coke to remove any undesirable contaminants. After that, you pour the melted iron into a mold and allow it to cool in a blast furnace. That's in a traditional way, you use the blast furnace, but in the modern way, now we use electric induction furnaces. As for the structure of cast iron, the cast iron contains 2 to 4% of carbon. Cast iron has a melting temperature ranging from 1150 to about 1200 degrees Celsius. This is about 300 degrees Celsius lower than the melting point of pure iron. Cast iron is also brittle. However, it is resistant to deformation and wear resistance. Because of its properties such as resistance to deformation and wear resistance, cast iron is used in pipes, machines, and automotive industry parts such as cylinder heads, cylinder blocks, and also gearbox cases. However, cast iron was more popular in the construction uses. For example, the first major bridge in the world was made by cast iron during the 1770s. This is the bridge, it's called the Iron Bridge. By varying the percentage of silicon in the cast iron, it allows to produce different productions, such as white cast iron and grey cast iron. This is the grey cast iron. That is the microscopic view of grey cast iron. So, how does the grey cast iron form? Basically, it is also formed by the slow cooling of iron and by varying the amount of silicon in the cast iron. So, because of the slow cooling of the iron, it allows the graphite to form. That is why the grey cast iron has a structure of graphitic microstructure. The graphite imparts a dull grey appearance at the fractures of the grey cast iron. Grey cast iron contains 2.5 to 4% carbon, 1 to 3% silicon, and the graphite may occupy 6 to 10% of its volume, and the remainder is the iron. Because of the higher percentage of silicon in grey cast iron compared to white cast iron, the graphite forms because silicon is a graphitizing agent. So then, because of the higher percentage of silicon, then the graphite forms, and so also the production of grey cast iron. The properties of grey cast irons are it has a high thermal conductivity and also a high specific heat capacity. Grey cast iron has also a high damping capacity. That means it can absorb vibrations well. Cast iron is also used in pump housings, valve bodies, electrical boxes, decorative castings, and also cast iron cookware. This is one example of grey cast iron as a star grip with plastic coating. Next, by varying the amount of silicon in cast iron as well, you produce white cast iron. White cast iron solidifies due to the rapid cooling of iron. This process is also called the cooling casting. The structure of white cast iron is that it has 1.3% of silicon content. This is a drastic difference from the grey cast iron. And the remaining of the carbon exists as cementite. Because of the lower silicon content in white cast iron, the graphite did not form. So the carbon remains as the carbon remains in the solution. So after that, the carbon will precipitate out as cementite, and this cementite will actually make the white surface structure of the fracture. The properties of white cast iron is that it is very brittle. However, it has good hardness and good wear resistance. This is due to the large particles of cementite that give white cast iron good hardness and wear resistance. The performance of white cast iron is that it is used in brake lining, wear surfaces of slurry pumps. This is an example of slurry pumps. However, the main use of white cast iron is as a starting material for malleable cast irons. There are two examples of malleable cast iron, which is the white hard malleable iron and also the black hard malleable iron. The white hard malleable iron as shown, and also the black hard malleable iron. Black hard malleable iron got its name because it has more darker and black spots compared to white malleable iron. Now I will pass the presentation to my next member.
My name is Khairul Harisin, and I am going to introduce wrought iron. Okay, before the invention of steel, wrought iron is commonly used for daily application, and wrought iron is produced in a puddling furnace, where fine metal is melted and oxidized by using oxidizing agents such as hematite and iron oxide. And then it is solidified to form a spongy iron, which is then separated from its impurities for further processes. And wrought iron contains lesser carbon in contrast to the other kind of metal or iron, because and when its carbon content is higher, its crystal is stronger and it is going to be hardened. And wrought iron contains up to 2% of slag induction. This slag induction helps the wrought iron to disperse corrosion. Next is its properties. It is soft, ductile, has high tensile strength, highly malleable, and resistant to corrosion. Its corrosion resistance is due to silicous impurities such as namely silicous ferric sticky. And then wrought iron is used in horizontal beams, which is then replaced by steel because of its cheaper. And wrought iron is also used as decorative applications such as railings, doors, and grills. In the ancient times, it is used as armor of war. And because majority of wrought iron used today is from reclaimed materials, because of its limited availability, it is usually reserved for fine carpenter tools and historical restoration of objects. The picture at the left top illustrates the slag inclusions, which helps the wrought iron to prevent it from cracking when it is bent. And the other two pictures shows the applications of wrought iron, which are railing and armor in ancient times.
I am Qing. I'm here today to introduce the new steel, which is an alloy of iron and other elements, primarily carbon. Back to the old days, steel is produced by smelting of iron ore in a blast furnace, originally employing charcoal, while now we are using coke. And today, we are using electric arc furnaces by reprocessing the scrap metals to create new steel. Steel has a wide range of properties because it has variation in carbon content. It can be heat treatment, it can be heat treating, and also addition of alloying elements. By varying the amount of carbon mixed with iron, we will get different kinds of alloy which have different uses. What is the uses of carbon being added to iron? Carbon added to iron acts as a hardening agent that prevents the dislocation of crystal lattice in the iron structure. Mentioned by my friend Taufiq earlier, there are 5 allotropes of iron. There are 2 allotropes which are quite important for steel. There are ferrite and also pearlite. Ferrite, which is a pure form of iron, has a body-centered cubic structure and it will have low solubility of carbon in ferrite. Pearlite, which is composed of alternate layers of ferrite and cementite, gives toughness to the structure. So generally, by increasing the amount of carbon in iron, increases the proportion of pearlite and decreases the amount of ferrite. This leads to the increase in strength and hardness and decrease in the ductility. Because of its high tensile strength and low cost, steel is the major components used in buildings and infrastructures nowadays. Thank you, and now I'll pass the part to my friend.
Assalamualaikum and a very good evening to all my fellow friends and Dr. Chua Yong Shen. Today I will present about the classification of carbon steel according to the carbon constituents. We have altogether 5, so I will give a detailed information about each one of them. First we go to dead mild steel. It contains about 0.01 to 0.1% of carbon. Its properties include soft, ductile, and weldable. It is not useful to harden by heat, except by normalizing. It is often used in pressings where high permeability is required. Second, we go to low carbon steel, which contains 0.1 to 0.25% of carbon. It is strong, ductile, and cannot be hardened by heat treatment except for normalizing, and it is also weldable. Low carbon steel is often used in general engineering uses. Next we go to medium carbon steel. It contains about 0.25 to 0.6% of carbon. It is very strong, heat treatable to produce a wide range of properties in quench and tempered conditions. It is also difficult to weld. This type of carbon steel is used in bars and forgings for a wide range of engineering components, such as connecting rods, spring hammers, and etc. Next, we go to high carbon steel, which contains 0.6 to 0.9% of carbon. It is strong whether heat treatable or not, but in contrast, its ductility decreases when the percentage of carbon decreases. It is used where maximum strength is significant rather than toughness. It is used in tools where resisting components such as piano wire, cable steel, and etc. Lastly, we go to very high carbon steel that contains about 0.9 to 2.0% of carbon. It is wear resistant and can be made very hard at the expense of ductile and toughness. Cannot be welded and can tend to be brittle if the structure is not handled properly. The very high carbon steel is often used in cutting tools like wood chisels, files, and saw blades. So I will hand it to my next fellow presenter.
And the last part is the conclusion. Iron is allotropic. As I say in the earlier part, iron consists of allotropes. Its allotropes is alpha iron, beta iron, delta iron, and gamma iron. When the temperature of iron increases, the new iron is formed. Iron also exists as microstructure such as ferrite, cementite, and austenite. Varying percent of carbon, iron produce a variety of alloys. Each alloys such as cast irons, wrought irons, and steels. And lastly, the performance of products formed from iron vary in properties depending on the structure and how were the irons processed.
So that's all from us, Group 2. We hope that you enjoy our presentation. So I would like to call my friends here to.
Just go ahead. Just go ahead.
So thank you.
Thank you.